My talk is startup security, the 5-minute web audit, and I work at LastPass. My Twitter, Twitter's a big deal in InfoSec. That's my Twitter up there, Steak EJJS. It's kind of like steak eggs. I just graduated from James Madison University with my master's, and there's some other way more interesting people from James Madison University. The Weave went to JMU for a semester, I think. Georgia Weedman did, and the Twitter guy, Christopher Sigonian, the lawyer guy, he went to JMU as well. I have LastPass stickers up here if you're interested in them. So the background on this talk is I was interested in application security, and I wanted to make a lot of money. So I wanted to hack Google and Twitter and get a bug bounty for like thousands of dollars. That sounded really good to me. So that's really hard though. It takes hours or days sometimes. It's not really that easy. And at the same time, as I was learning AppSec, I started getting interested in startups and the startup world, and all these people get funding for startups, and it seems like really glamorous. So I was kind of interested in it, and somehow along the way I started thinking, well, why don't I just try to hack the startups and maybe get like t-shirts or maybe consulting gigs where I spend a weekend and make $1,000 or something. That never actually worked. I just ended up hacking a bunch of them. But my audit life cycle, I ended up auditing a ton of these startups, like hundreds, about 300, and I stuck pretty close to not even the OWASP top 10. It was more like the OWASP top 3, because I spent 5 minutes hacking these things. And it was kind of not feasible to do every single thing on every single site because I'm moving so fast. None of the things I found when I was looking at all these startups were really blog worthy. They're just literally cut and dry cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery. And I wanted to see how good at security these people were who were getting millions of dollars to create the company of their dreams. Like it says down there, I was looking for people who have never heard of security. To go about this, I start with like a site like Crunchbase. Crunchbase is really good because it also tells me how much money they got. And that was where I spent most of my time. I signed up for emails from Crunchbase, and they send you an email every time new sites get added and new funding rounds happen. Angel.co is, I think, AngelList, and that was pretty good too. It's like newer startups go there. People seek funding there, and it led to some good finds though. I also use LinkedIn to find new startups to audit, and that was not as good, but still got me some. Then word of mouth and this Rocket Punch site, I ended up spending like 2 or 3 days auditing only Chinese and Korean startups, which was really actually challenging because it doesn't always translate that well. Sites don't, and then it's actually really difficult to audit these things. So who were these people that I audited? Who were the startups? I'm not listing names because I think I don't want to get sued by some of them because I don't want to get sued by the ones who weren't good and didn't fix things, but I also don't think it's fair to recognize people who did well because they might get bad press and fixed vulnerabilities. So I'm not really saying any names at all, but they had a lot of big time investors. I'm like McDonald's, over $1 billion served, because that's what the number added up to when I added up all these people from Crunchbase. I used the Crunchbase investment calculator and put them all together, and it was over $1 billion. And that really shouldn't be surprising because a lot of money gets thrown around to business companies that want to provide services to business instead of consumers. Consumers, they have more eyes looking at this code that they write, so problems get found quicker. But business to business, there's a whole lot of money being thrown around and not a lot of people auditing them. The attacks were so cut and dry that it's embarrassing that I found these in so many sites. The first one is cross-site request forgery. CSRF is really common, and it was by far the most common thing I found. Cross-site scripting was a big one. It's actually a little more challenging to look for cross-site scripting in a lot of sites because I wasn't using any tools for this. I was just using me and Chrome. No burp or SQL map or anything. So it was kind of challenging to because the sites are so different. So one of these startups might be a new social site, like a new Facebook, but one of them, the next one might be Airbnb for like, I don't know, cactus enthusiasts. So it's really difficult to jump around. And remote code execution is really easy to test for, so I put it on the list because it takes like 1 second. And I found embarrassing amount of them. So first, if you don't know, CSRF, user goes to evil.com. Well, the victim goes to evil.com. They get back evil.html. And evil.html sends a request to the startup site that performs some action for an account hijack, which was the main thing I was looking for CSRF. You just, whatever their URL is, to change the email address. The reason this works is because the browser sends your cookie along with it, which I have no idea why. Who thought that was a good idea, but that's what your browser does. This is what it looks like. You make the top one, image, the image tag will make a GET request. The bottom one, post requests are require a little more code, but they're still super easy and super CSRFable. They both change startup.com, change bank account. A lot of times, people don't really differentiate between GET and post. So it may be a post that you're supposed to send, but you can still get away sending a GET, and they don't really care. To stop this, you're supposed to have a token, an authenticity token, or CSRF token, whatever you want to call it, that the attacker can't guess. Also, an improvement on this, instead of just putting the form on the page, when you submit that form to actually perform the CSRF, that'll forward their browser, and it's pretty obvious that something happened. So I like to throw it in a page that's in an iframe, which is a little overkill, but it's cool. Cross-site scripting, the other big one. You go to startup.com. There's some code that I put there. It makes there's two main things that I think of for cross-site scripting that is good for a hacker. First, you can exfiltrate data to evil.com. And the other thing, you can perform bad actions on behalf of the user on the startup.com in this case. And now that's the other one I did. So here's a real CSRF I got. Delete account. This is incredible why people do this. So this is really bad for a startup, even worse than an account hijack, in my opinion, because the account hijack is worse for one user. And if I was to start deleting tons of accounts, the company is going to have to answer to their investors about why all these people are deleting their accounts. For startups, that's really bad. The big thing that they want is traction. So this is not good. This was the script I used for remote code execution testing on all these sites. It's just a one-line PHP script, system, cat, Etsy, password. So basically what I'd do is I'd create an account on a startup website, and a lot of them allow you to upload profile pictures So I would just literally upload a test.php. And this type, image JPEG or image PNG, whatever, this was usually the only type of input validation that I found on a lot of these. So I'd just remove that, and I upload this thing super easily. There's something else I wanted to say here. There's two things that they did wrong for this, if this is their only type of input validation. One, they shouldn't have your images that you're supposed to be uploading in a directory you can execute in. And two, they should be validating types. So it's just horrible. So these are some reactions. After I found vulnerabilities in these pages, I went about reporting them, since that's what you're supposed to do. This first one is a guy I found on Reddit. His company makes a lot of money, and it looks like his reaction's good. And he says, I'll fix this, I'll add tokens, I'm adding X-frame, or I'm preventing embedding my page in an iframe. And he offered me a t-shirt, so I put that smiley. First, I never got the t-shirt, so I was mad about that. And then second, I checked back a couple weeks later, the tokens were gone, and nothing actually improved. The bottom one was a startup that I reported a problem to, an account hijack to, and they got hundreds of millions of dollars in investment money. And first of all, it took them like 3 weeks to respond to my email. And after they responded, they didn't actually fix anything. All they made was their site less usable because their page broke. And these 500 errors, after I reported vulnerabilities, these 500 errors started popping up a lot because the patches people were pushing were no good and causing things to break. This is the ugly. A lot of people, a lot of these companies getting millions of dollars weren't validating emails, or weren't validating images, and they were running my code that I uploaded, that one-line PHP script. This is a real screenshot from a site. And this is by far the worst reaction. I really don't like this person. So I blacked out their names and everything. I basically report it. I wanted to help. And they had a rack of other problems, account hijack, everything. This is this guy's handling banking credentials on his startup that got millions of dollars to create this dream of his. He's handling banking credentials, and he left first of all, he left my test.php running in his web server for a month and a half. And then he only took it down because they actually pushed their new Laravel site that he mentioned. And then I couldn't even create a new account. He deleted my old account. I couldn't create a new one because it 500 on create account. So I don't think they're going to do well, but I really didn't like this guy, and this is like the worst reaction you can possibly have to a remote code execution on a banking site. There was a ton of funny things I found when auditing all these startups. The best one was uploading profile pictures for arbitrary users. The remote code execution didn't work, so I ended up seeing that the on-click attribute of the submit button, it called this function, upload profile picture, and it had a number already there as the argument. And I figured that must be my UID, so I wrote a little JavaScript function that iterated through and called that function for every username, or for every UID. And I put in a timeout, because your browser won't send like 1,000 of them at once. I checked back a couple minutes later and went to search users, and everybody's profile picture was Mario on this site. And it was hilarious for me. I found some in vulnerability research companies with an S. Numerous 500 internal errors. I talked about that already, and there were good. I'm kind of slanted because I spent a lot of time dealing with the bad, but there were some companies that really responded well and fixed things quickly, and had really good reactions. They pushed code quickly and it worked, and they were all around good companies. But I would say I dealt with more bad reactions than good reactions from people. So why does this matter? Well, the people investing the money probably care. And I was curious, people tend to think that, well, web app security is getting better as a whole. But is that really true beyond Google, Apple, Twitter, Facebook, all these big guys? And also, do these security analytics predict the future? Like, if you could invest in a company that has great security and is really responsive and handles these things well, are they going to do better than someone who doesn't? That is definitely why it matters. So some things I figured out while I was doing this is secure flows is what I'm calling it, but some sites, they may have no CSRF token, but that doesn't mean they're CSRFable. Some prompt you to enter your password before you change your username, or before you change your email address, you change your password. And I thought that was really interesting. And UX is getting really big in security. I'm on this modern crypto mailing list that they talk about UX a lot there, and how mostly in the PGP context, but I think it could carry over a lot to web application security. Recommendations for these people. First of all, do they really know these languages that they got money to create a company with? That people should probably do more research on these things. They also did things that didn't really make sense. I would recommend not including profile pictures for your business-to-business application. It doesn't really make sense to me. And there's also recommendations that I have for PHP, the language. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of recommendations for them, but I think a form builder would be really helpful in preventing CSRF for PHP. Something like Rails has a form builder, but PHP doesn't. Like a form builder and form validator would be really helpful in preventing these things. I think that's all my slides, and I went through really, really fast because I was kind of nervous. First, does anybody have any questions about startups or LastPass or anything? And I guess the other thing I didn't find in any of these startups is like modern headers to prevent attacks. Nobody is using HSTS. Nobody is using content security policy headers. Nobody is using these, even in the people who really got it right. This seems to be like a trend for mature companies, and I don't really know why. They're not that difficult to roll out. Yeah, I guess I don't have a whole lot more. I really appreciate you guys coming. This was my first conference talk ever, so I was pretty nervous.